Ave Maria in the Afternoon is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Welcome to Ave Maria in the Afternoon, examining the world through the lens of faith from the heart of the Church to help us navigate the culture. Here's Dr. Marcus Peter.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on this hour of Ave Maria in the Afternoon. I'm Marcus Peter. St. Therese of Lisieux, often called the Little Flower, can sometimes be mistaken by those who don't know her as having been timid. This is far from the truth. In fact, as little as this flower was, she was equally a lion when it came to virtue, the life of sanctity and grace, and the defense of the faith. Joining me to have a conversation about the boldness of St. Therese of Lisieux in light of having just recently celebrated the anniversary of her canonization is Sean Breeden. Sean is General Sales Manager of Ave Maria Radio, and he runs the Warriors of St. Michael Men's Ministry. He also has a special devotion to St. Therese. Sean, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
The joy is completely mine, and I want to start by asking you to tell us the story of what happened on the anniversary of Therese's canonization for you just this past weekend.
Yes, it's the 100th anniversary of her canonization, and months ago I planned this trip to Illinois. In my mind, I don't picture Illinois as a pilgrimage site before I did the research, but the National Shrine of St. Therese is there, and it has more first and second class relics there than any place in the world except for Lisieux, first and second class relics of Therese. And I had the amazing privilege of being able to pray for 10 minutes next to the original door of her cell, of her room in Carmel, where she composed Story of a Soul. And it was really the honor of a lifetime to have that privilege.
Wow. And so, as mystical and spiritual an encounter this was for you, share with us the liturgy that you underwent, this realization, like you were sharing with me, the realization that Therese herself was there in that liturgical celebration.
Yes, so a little bit later that day, just down the road, about an hour down the road, at All Saints Shrine in Morton Grove, Illinois, they have this one of the most amazing first-class relics of Therese I've ever seen, which is about a 3 or 4 inch full lock of her hair that her sister Celine had cut when Therese entered the Carmel, and had the opportunity to pray next to this relic. And they also have 3,300 relics in this room, like the second most of any place in the U.S., and they had a mass there later in the day, and I was literally receiving communion 30 feet from this amazing relic of Therese and 30 feet from 3 second-class relics of Joan of Arc, who I have a great devotion to. And it was a very intense experience to feel that close, to feel the intercession of 2 of my patrons.
Yeah. And I loved the fact that you shared that with me over lunch today. And so I want to ask you to dive deeper into the boldness of St. Therese. For those of us who've read A Story of a Soul, especially even if you do a cursory read, you really get the impression of a young girl who's gifted with the sense of a resolute will. And she has to combat that in her younger years, but it's very clear that in embracing virtue, she tempers that and then orders that rightly for God. So just paint that picture for us.
Yeah, I think you're totally right that grace builds on nature, and her nature has this kind of stubbornness about it, this strong will that does have to be tamed. But when we encounter the Lord, He doesn't erase who we are, but He takes what is good and He builds on it, He perfects it. And that's really the case with her. And you can't talk about the boldness of Therese without the foundation of her boldness before the throne of God. The New Testament says, let us approach with confidence the throne of grace. And she really did that. There's this quote I love from her. It's one of my favorites. It says, holiness does not consist in this or that practice, but in a disposition of the heart, conscious of our weakness, but confident to the point of audacity in His fatherly goodness. She was not afraid to approach the Lord with all of her weakness, her littleness, because she knew that she was a beloved daughter of God, that He would lift her to the heights of holiness. She believed that despite her littleness, she could be a great saint, and that's really her message to us. Her first message of boldness is to approach the Lord with boldness.
And in approaching the Lord, asking Him to make us a saint. I mean, you can admit that the average listener is going to look at this or listen to this and go, that inspires me with trepidation, and maybe it's good for Therese. I don't know if that's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because throughout Story of a Soul and other writings of hers, she addresses that very feeling. She says, when I read about these great saints, the mortifications they did, the writings they did, it's all too much for me. God, how can I be a saint? And she really expresses that concern that we all have of like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. How can I make this happen? And that's her whole point, is we don't make it happen. Mm-hmm. God makes it happen. He lifts us up as a good father does, and He can lift us up to the heights of holiness if we just surrender to Him.
And even prior to her entry into religious life, you see how her commitment to the divine will helped her be bold and persevere in the obstacles of entering into religious life.
Yes, absolutely. So when you know in prayer, in conviction, spiritual direction, you know that God is asking you to do something, it gives you a boldness that might not be possible with our natural temperament. Yeah. But what happens is she calls it her Christmas conversion in 1886, where after the death of her mother when she was 4.5, she developed this really high hypersensitivity, crying at the smallest thing, and she couldn't overcome it no matter how hard she tried. But Christmas of 1886, God worked a miracle where He overcame that, and she came home, and her father, it was, Christmas Eve, and she overheard her father about putting, the treats and things in her shoes they would do for Christmas, saying, gosh, I hope this is the last year that this happens. Isn't she getting a little old? She's 13, and Therese overhears this. And before the grace of that Mass, she would have been in tears all night long. Yeah. It might have ruined Christmas for the family, but instead, she composes herself with this new grace she received. Mm-hmm. She goes downstairs as if she never heard anything and is able to compose herself really in a supernatural way based on how she had behaved in the previous few years of her life.
Right. And it's one of those moments in the Story of the Soul that demonstrates how, from a young age, 13, she's really trying to grapple with the call that's been placed on her life. And she had no idea how wondrous a saint she would become, how influential. Her influence is also demonstrated in how she became a spiritual mother to the novices in religious life.
Yeah, so not only did she have this conversion, want to enter Carmel, and experience obstacles, the superior of Carmel, the sort of parish priest that was a representative of the bishop over the Carmel, said, wait till you're 21. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, but he said you can go to the bishop. She goes to the bishop. He says, I'll think about it. Then she goes to the Pope and asks Pope Leo XIII. So she has this boldness, but once she enters and has years of formation herself, she takes charge of the novices in this fierce kind of motherly role where the novices report that she would essentially read their souls often. Like she would say things that she couldn't have known. There's this one instance that really speaks for itself where she overhears a novice complaining that she was passed over for dessert. Mm-hmm. And Therese, in her love of hiddenness and hidden virtue, said, God permitted you to be skipped over so that you would grow in virtue and make this small hidden sacrifice, but you are not ready for that, apparently. I want you to go to the nun that accidentally skipped you and ask for your dessert. And she was mortified, and she said she obeyed Therese. But here's what she said. She said, I can say that this lesson bore fruit and cured me forever of that desire to complain. So it's in the midst of the challenge, the boldness, they experienced it as an act of love, which is very important.
And that final aspect of her boldness, she lived a rather short life, and bold to the very end. You see strength that she demonstrated even in the face of tuberculosis and the ongoing fragility of her body.
Yes. Yeah. So she experienced first, about 18 months before her death, she began coughing blood. Mm-hmm. She kept it to herself as long as she was able to, entered the infirmary later in July of that year. And what she went through in tuberculosis, the difficulty breathing, the fever, the bed sores, inability to get out of bed, all of those were nothing compared to the spiritual trial that she was undergoing. Really a dark night of faith where, although it sort of alternates the experience of darkness, and then the next quote from her is how much she looks forward to heaven. So it wasn't as if it wasn't the crisis of faith of an atheist, but the true dark night of the soul, as John of the Cross describes, where God permits you to feel His amazing light is so bright that one experiences it as darkness. And she persevered through that with faith to the point where she's grasping a crucifix and proclaims, "My God, I love you," to the bitter end.
To the bitter end. Sean Breeden, General Sales Manager for Ave Maria Radio. He's also the leader of the men's ministry at Christ the King called Warriors of St. Michael. We'll be talking about the boldness of St. Therese of Lisieux, the Little Flower. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.